The midnight wind carried a sorrowful tune as the decrepit structure of Boiler Stack 9 loomed against a bruised sky. Within its rusted iron bones and crumbling masonry, whispers of forgotten souls stirred, a secret that would grip the heart of any who dared to listen. On this fateful night, a solitary figure named Elias stepped through the threshold of history and dread, his curiosity entwined with an inexplicable pull towards the unknown. From the moment his trembling hand pressed against the cold metal of the stack, an eerie resonance of phantom voices promised that nothing would ever be the same again. A light rain fell softly, its rhythmic patter echoing against the distant clatter of old machinery, while Elias's footsteps resonated like drumbeats of an ominous march. There was no turning back, only the dark invitation of the unknown. The whispers, barely audible yet insistent, seemed to weave a narrative of tragedy and lost hope, drawing him deeper into the labyrinth of shadows. In the silence that followed, the ancient walls began to murmur secrets long buried, secrets that might reveal a truth more chilling than any nightmare. Elias's journey began at the base of the towering boiler, where time itself appeared to stand still. The air was thick with the stench of rust and decay, and every step further inside awakened memories of lives once lived. He recalled fragments of a local legend, a tale of workers and families, of mysterious disappearances, and of a haunting presence that lingered long after the last ember had faded. As he ascended the narrow, winding stairs leading to the upper levels of the stack, the whispers grew louder, transforming into fragmented voices that spoke of betrayal, sorrow, and the relentless passage of time. Every creaking step echoed with the sound of a bygone era. The walls, scarred by the weight of decades, bore cryptic symbols and graffiti that hinted at desperate attempts to communicate with forces beyond comprehension. Elias's heart pounded with both terror and anticipation, as though he was traversing the threshold between the world of the living and the realm of restless spirits. Each door he passed seemed to guard its own dark secret, its splintered frame and shattered glass a silent testament to the tragedies that had unfolded within these confines. In a chamber shrouded in perpetual twilight, Elias discovered a weathered journal, its pages yellowed and ink smeared by time. The diary belonged to a worker named Thomas, whose entries detailed the harrowing experiences of life amid the labyrinthine corridors of Boiler Stack 9. Thomas wrote of phantom figures seen lurking in the periphery of flickering lantern light and of eerie murmurs that had driven him to the brink of madness. His final entry was a frantic scrawl, a desperate plea to unmask the truth behind the stack's malevolent whispers, a secret hidden in plain sight, yet cloaked in spectral mystery. As Elias read on, the air around him grew denser, as if the very atmosphere was charged with a foreboding energy. The narrative of the diary wove together a tapestry of sorrow and retribution, a tragic history of exploitation and neglect that had cursed the souls of the workers, binding them to the stack in a spectral purgatory. With every line, Elias felt an overwhelming connection to these lost souls, as if their anguish echoed his own inner turmoil. He could almost feel their cold, invisible hands clutching at him, urging him to confront the darkness that had festered for so long. Stepping away from the journal, Elias ventured further into the heart of the stack. Here, in a vast, cavernous space where ancient machinery lay dormant, he uncovered the remnants of an old assembly line. The broken gears and twisted pipes formed an eerie maze that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Shadows danced across the walls in time with the intermittent flicker of failing lights, creating spectral figures that merged with the faint, unyielding murmur of phantom whispers. It was as if the very structure of the stack was alive, a sentient entity born of sorrow and despair. In the midst of this industrial graveyard, Elias encountered a peculiar phenomenon, a cold draft that carried with it an unmistakable scent of burning coal and sweat. Drawn by this familiar aroma, he followed the invisible current until it led him to a sealed door, obscured by layers of grime and rust. The door, much like the rest of the stack, bore the scars of time, yet something about it resonated with an eerie significance. With a trembling hand, Elias pushed it open, and a gust of frigid air swept over him, as though welcoming him into a long-forgotten chapter of history. Beyond the threshold lay a small, hidden room illuminated by the faint glow of an old oil lamp. On a dusty table sat a collection of photographs, yellowed and torn, depicting a group of individuals whose eyes seemed to harbor secrets of their own. Among these relics was a faded portrait of a young woman with an expression that oscillated between hope and despair, a figure whose presence seemed inexplicably tied to the whispered legends of the stack. The photographs served as silent witnesses to the tragedies that had befallen the workers, a stark reminder that the true horror was not merely the supernatural, but the human suffering that had birthed these phantoms. The whispers, now at a crescendo, revealed themselves not as random echoes, but as a chorus of voices united by grief and unresolved anguish. They spoke of betrayal by those in power, of lives sacrificed in the relentless pursuit of progress, and of a hidden pact that bound the souls of the fallen to the very heart of the stack. Elias listened, his mind a maelstrom of confusion and empathy, as the spectral voices wove a tale of conspiracy and forbidden rituals. The realization struck him with bone-deep clarity. The secret of Boiler Stack 9 was not merely an accident of time, but the culmination of human greed and cruelty, transmuted into a malevolent force that continued to haunt the corridors of memory. As the night deepened, the spectral voices gradually subsided, leaving behind a chilling silence punctuated only by the distant drip of water and the echo of Elias's own footsteps. In that moment, he understood that the true horror lay not in the apparitions, but in the unyielding echo of human tragedy. With the journal clutched tightly in his grasp, he made his way back towards the entrance, determined to honor the memories of those lost and to expose the truth buried within the iron veins of the stack. The journey back was no less harrowing than the initial descent. Every shadow seemed to stretch and twist with sinister intent, every creak of the ancient structure a reminder of the lives snuffed out too soon. Elias's resolve was tested as the stack itself seemed to resist his departure, its corridors shifting as if to trap him in an eternal cycle of despair. Yet, with each step, he carried the weight of responsibility, the duty to bring to light a haunting secret that had long been shrouded in darkness. Finally, emerging into the cool night air, Elias paused to glance back at the monolithic structure of Boiler Stack 9. Its silhouette was now framed against the pale glow of dawn, the spectral whispers fading into the soft murmur of the morning breeze. The secrets of the stack, etched into its very bones, would live on as a stark reminder of the price of human ambition and the indelible scars left by unrepentant sorrow. In the quiet that followed, Elias vowed that he would share the story of Boiler Stack 9 with the world. His voice, trembling yet resolute, would echo the forgotten cries of the workers, ensuring that their memories and the haunting secret of phantom whispers would never be lost to the relentless march of time. For in every whispered secret, there lies a truth that demands to be told, a truth that must never be silenced. The journey had transformed Elias, intertwining his fate with the spectral echoes of the past. The haunting secret of Boiler Stack 9 was not merely a ghost story, but a poignant reminder of the human cost behind every industrial marvel and every promise of progress. In the spectral embrace of the stack's phantom whispers, the legacy of suffering and resilience resonated with a timeless power, a call to remember, to grieve, and to seek justice for those whose voices were forever bound to the cold, unyielding heart of Boiler Stack 9. Elias's escape into the cool embrace of the night had done little to settle the storm raging within him. Though he had emerged from the oppressive corridors of Boiler Stack 9 with Thomas's journal clutched tightly in hand and a promise to give voice to the forgotten, the chill of that place seemed to follow him like an unshakable specter. In the days that followed, as he sought solace in the fragile light of dawn and the mundane rhythms of everyday life, Elias found himself haunted by vivid recollections of phantom whispers and fleeting apparitions. The memories surged unexpectedly, each whisper a reminder of the unfinished tale that lay dormant beneath the rust and decay. Unable to rest, Elias returned to his modest apartment, where flickering lamplight cast elongated shadows across old newspaper clippings and personal mementos scattered about his desk. There, he began a painstaking examination of Thomas's journal. The entries, written in a frantic yet deliberate hand, revealed more than the tortured soul of a worker. They hinted at a conspiracy long buried under layers of industrial progress and societal neglect. Elias's fingers trembled as he deciphered cryptic phrases and hastily scrawled notes that spoke of a hidden chamber, secret meetings, and rituals intended to bind souls to the stack. The narrative was fragmented, each line a piece of a puzzle that begged to be solved. One particularly disconcerting entry described an inexplicable phenomenon, a mirror, forgotten in an abandoned office deep within the stack, that could capture the spectral essence of the past. Thomas had written of how, in its reflective surface, the faces of those long-lost appeared for a fleeting moment, a ghostly congregation of sorrow and silent fury. The image of that mirror seared itself into Elias's mind. What if such an artifact still existed, waiting to unveil the deeper mysteries of Boiler Stack 9? That possibility ignited a restless determination within him. Armed with the diary and a growing resolve, he set his mind on returning to the very heart of the haunted complex, intent on uncovering the mirror and the secrets it might reveal. The following evening, as a thick fog smothered the city and the moon hung low like a watchful guardian, Elias approached Boiler Stack 9 once again. The structure loomed as ominously as before, its rusted frame bathed in the pallid light of the moon. This time, however, he felt an unsettling sense of familiarity, a premonition that the walls themselves had been waiting for him to return. With the journal tucked safely in his worn leather satchel, he retraced his earlier steps, the echoes of his footsteps resonating in harmony with the distant, sorrowful whispers. Inside, the atmosphere was even more oppressive than before. The stale air, heavy with the scent of decay and old coal, pressed in on him as he moved deeper into the labyrinthine corridors. Every corner he turned revealed new relics of a bygone era, rusted tools, scattered personal belongings, and faded photographs that bore silent testimony to lives lost in the pursuit of a dream now corrupted by greed and negligence. The deeper he ventured, the more palpable the presence of those who had suffered within these walls became. The oppressive weight of unseen eyes bore down upon him, urging him forward even as the chill of apprehension crept up his spine. Navigating the corridors by the weak glow of his flashlight, Elias arrived at the once-hidden chamber Thomas had described. The entrance, cleverly concealed behind a dilapidated office door, had been partially unlatched in his previous visit, a subtle invitation or perhaps a trap laid by fate. Pushing the door open with a creak that echoed through the silence, he stepped into a room that seemed to exist out of time. Dust motes danced in the dim beam of his light, and the scent of aged paper and metal filled the space. Against one wall, draped in cobwebs and the weight of neglect, hung an ornate mirror in a tarnished silver frame. Its surface was marred by age, yet it retained an eerie clarity, as if it were a portal to another realm. Elias's pulse quickened as he approached the mirror. The journal had described this very object, and now he stood mere feet away from it, the promise of its revelations mingling with the dread of what it might unveil. He wiped a tentative hand across the glass, and for a moment, the mirror's surface rippled like water disturbed by an unseen breeze. In that brief instant, a face emerged, a visage etched with pain and loss, eyes pleading for acknowledgement. Elias recoiled, his breath catching in his throat, yet he could not tear his gaze away. The spectral figure seemed to be beckoning him, imploring him to delve deeper into the truth behind the stack's tragic history. As if stirred by his presence, the chamber's silence shattered into a chorus of murmurs. The mirror, now a conduit for the restless spirits of those who had perished within the industrial behemoth, began to reveal fleeting images, a montage of moments filled with despair and fleeting hope. He saw workers laboring under inhumane conditions, families gathered in somber solidarity, and, amidst it all, the shadow of an overseer whose face remained hidden in darkness. Each scene was interlaced with the persistent presence of the phantom whispers that had haunted his previous journey. It was as though the mirror sought to present an unvarnished narrative of exploitation, sacrifice, and the relentless cruelty of an era gone by. In a surge of determination, Elias realized that this mirror was more than a mere relic. It was a witness to history, a repository of memories that demanded to be heard. With trembling hands, he reached out to touch the cool surface. In that moment, a profound connection sparked, a silent communion between his soul and the countless spirits imprisoned within the mirror's depths. His mind became a conduit for their voices, each whisper a story of betrayal, endurance, and an undying longing for justice. The room filled with a spectral glow, and Elias found himself standing at the intersection of past and present, where the weight of memory bore down with palpable intensity. In the ensuing moments, the mirror's revelations grew more vivid. Scenes of clandestine meetings, desperate acts of rebellion, and the hidden rituals designed to tether souls to the stack unfolded before his eyes. Among these visions, one image stood out, a ritual circle etched into the floor of a hidden chamber, with arcane symbols that pulsed with an unholy luminescence. It was here that a pact had been sealed, binding the workers' hopes and sorrows to the very framework of Boiler Stack 9. The realization struck Elias with overwhelming force. The tragedies he had witnessed were not mere accidents of fate, but the result of deliberate human machinations, a conspiracy of silence and exploitation that had left a permanent scar on the fabric of time. As the mirror's vision subsided, Elias felt a profound responsibility settle upon him. He knew that he could not simply retreat with these secrets confined to the darkness of his mind. The mirror had entrusted him with a mission, to honor the voices of the lost and to expose the sinister legacy of industrial ambition that had been buried beneath layers of rust and neglect. With the spectral images slowly fading from the glass, the mirror returned to its inert state, its secrets momentarily concealed once again behind the veneer of decay. Leaving the chamber, Elias retraced his steps through the dim corridors of the stack. The oppressive silence now held a different tone, a quiet, resigned acknowledgement of the burdens carried by those long gone. Each step echoed with the weight of responsibility, as if the very walls were urging him to carry forward the stories of sorrow and injustice. The journey back was marked by a newfound resolve. No longer was he merely an observer or a seeker of hidden truths. He had become a guardian of memories, entrusted with the task of giving voice to the voiceless. Outside, as the first hints of dawn began to break over the horizon, Elias paused to reflect on the night's revelations. The cold morning air carried with it a fragile promise of hope, a hope that truth, once unearthed, might serve as a catalyst for change. Yet, in the depths of his heart, he could not shake the feeling that Boiler Stack 9 was far from finished with its dark narrative. The mirror had revealed only a fragment of its hidden history, a mere glimpse into a tapestry woven with threads of despair, resilience, and unspeakable injustice. As the light of day slowly banished the lingering shadows of the night, Elias resolved to document every fragment of this spectral legacy. He would gather evidence, interview descendants of those who had suffered, and piece together a narrative that honored the memory of every lost soul. In the coming days, he would embark on a journey not just through the decaying corridors of an abandoned industrial relic, but into the very heart of a societal wound, a wound inflicted by ambition, greed, and the unyielding passage of time. For now, as Boiler Stack 9 receded into the background of the awakening city, Elias felt a solemn connection to its haunted history. The phantom whispers, though quiet for the moment, had imprinted upon him a mission that transcended personal curiosity. They were the voices of the oppressed, the silent testimonies of lives sacrificed in the name of progress. And as he stepped forward into the uncertain light of a new day, Elias knew that his story, like the stories of those bound to the stack, was only beginning to unfold. In that fragile moment between night and day, as the echoes of the past melded with the promise of tomorrow, Elias vowed that he would carry the torch of memory. The haunting secret of Boiler Stack 9, illuminated by the spectral revelations of an ancient mirror, would not be consigned to oblivion. Instead, it would serve as a beacon, a chilling reminder that the past, with all its sorrow and injustice, must never be forgotten, and that every whispered secret carries within it the power to transform the present. Thus, as the day claimed its rightful place over the night, Elias stepped away from the forsaken relic of human ambition, burdened yet emboldened by the truths he had unearthed. The phantom whispers lingered in his mind, a constant reminder of the spectral legacy he had inherited, a legacy that demanded to be shared, to be understood, and ultimately, to heal the wounds of a haunted past.